I never expected my worst day to become my greatest triumph. When that flight attendant humiliated me in front of everyone and threw me off the plane, she had no idea who my father was. What happened next changed everything and taught her a lesson she'll never forget. If you've ever been judged by your appearance or treated unfairly, this story will hit close to home. Make sure to like this video and subscribe because what happens next will absolutely shock you. Trust me, you won't want to miss the ending. My name is Florence, and I'm about to tell you the most incredible story that happened to me just last month. It's a story about judgment, humiliation, and the most satisfying moment of justice I've ever witnessed. But let me start from the beginning. I was 22 years old, finishing my final semester at Northwestern University. I'd been working 3 part-time jobs just to afford my education, cleaning offices at night, tutoring kids on weekends, and serving coffee during the early morning rush. My scholarship covered tuition, but everything else was on me. I'd learned to stretch every dollar, shop at thrift stores, and make sacrifices that most of my classmates couldn't even imagine. That particular Tuesday morning, I was heading home to Chicago for my grandmother's birthday. I'd saved up for months to afford this flight, and I was exhausted from pulling an all-nighter to finish a project before leaving. I threw on my most comfortable clothes, faded jeans, an old university sweatshirt, and worn sneakers. My hair was in a messy bun, and I carried my laptop in a beat-up backpack that had seen better days. The airport was chaos, delayed flights, crying babies, and stressed travelers everywhere. I found my gate and waited, clutching my boarding pass like it was made of gold. When they called for boarding, I grabbed my backpack and joined the line. My seat was 23B, middle seat in economy, nothing fancy, but it was mine. As I walked down the narrow aisle, I noticed the difference immediately. The first-class passengers were settling into their spacious seats, sipping champagne and reading newspapers. Flight attendants were fussing over them, offering warm towels and taking dinner orders. I kept walking toward the back, where the seats got smaller and the overhead bins were already stuffed full. I found my row and tried to squeeze my backpack into the overhead compartment. It was packed tight, and I had to push and rearrange other bags to make space. A man in an expensive suit behind me sighed loudly and muttered something about these people not knowing how to pack properly. I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment, but I kept trying to fit my bag. That's when I first noticed her. Linda, the head flight attendant. She was probably in her 40s, with perfectly styled blonde hair and makeup that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Her uniform was crisp and immaculate, and she carried herself with the kind of confidence that comes from years of believing you're better than everyone around you. She watched me struggle with my bag for a moment, then clicked her tongue disapprovingly. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping with fake politeness. "Is there a problem here?" I looked up, grateful for what I thought was help. "Oh, hi. I'm just trying to fit my bag up here. Sorry, it's taking a minute." She looked me up and down, taking in my tired appearance and worn clothes. Her expression shifted from fake concern to barely concealed disgust. "And you are?" "Florence Thompson. I'm in 23B." I held up my boarding pass with a smile, still not sensing the storm that was about to hit. Linda took my boarding pass and studied it with exaggerated care, as if she was examining a suspicious document. She said, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. "There seems to be some confusion here." My heart started to race. Confusion? Is something wrong with my ticket? "Well," she said, speaking even louder now, "this is clearly a mistake. You're obviously not supposed to be on this flight." The passengers around us started to turn and stare. I felt dozens of eyes on me, and my face grew hot with embarrassment. "I don't understand. I bought this ticket weeks ago. I checked in online this morning." Linda's smile became cruel. "Sweetheart, look around you. Look at yourself. Do you really think you belong here?" She gestured at the other passengers, most of whom were now openly gawking at our exchange. I looked down at my clothes, then back at her. "I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean. My ticket is valid. I paid for this seat." "Oh, I'm sure you think you did," Linda said, her voice getting louder and more condescending. "But clearly there's been some kind of error. Maybe you booked the wrong date, or maybe you're supposed to be on a different airline. Either way, you need to gather your things and come with me." The man who had complained about my packing earlier nodded approvingly. "Finally," he said to his wife, "about time someone did something about this." Another passenger, a woman with a purple handbag, chimed in. "I was wondering the same thing. She doesn't exactly look like she can afford to fly." I felt tears starting to form in my eyes. "Please, there has to be a mistake. I saved up for months for this ticket. I'm going home to see my grandmother for her birthday." Linda's expression didn't soften at all. Oh, how convenient. A sob story to go with the dramatic performance. "Listen, honey, whatever scam you're trying to pull here isn't going to work. I've been doing this job for 15 years, and I can spot a troublemaker from a mile away." "I'm not trying to scam anyone," I said, my voice breaking. "I just want to get to my seat. Please, just call your supervisor or check your computer system. My name is Florence Thompson, and I belong on this flight." Linda laughed, a harsh sound that made several passengers snicker. "Oh, you belong here, do you? Look at you. Look at your clothes, your bag, your whole situation. Does this look like someone who belongs on a respectable airline?" The humiliation was overwhelming. I could feel every eye in the cabin on me, judging me, agreeing with her. Some passengers were actually taking pictures with their phones, as if I was some kind of circus attraction. "Ma'am," I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady, "I understand there might be some confusion, but I have a valid ticket. I'm not trying to cause any trouble. I just want to sit down and get home to my family." Linda's face twisted with irritation. "You know what? I've had enough of this nonsense. You're disrupting the entire flight with your little drama show. I'm calling security." My heart dropped into my stomach. "Security? But I haven't done anything wrong." "You've disrupted the boarding process, refused to follow crew instructions, and clearly don't belong on this aircraft. That's enough wrong for me." She grabbed the intercom phone and spoke into it. "Security to gate 15A, please." "We have a situation." The next few minutes felt like a nightmare. 2 security guards boarded the plane, and Linda immediately started talking to them in a low voice, gesturing at me and shaking her head disapprovingly. I caught fragments of what she was saying. Suspicious behavior, invalid ticket, causing a disturbance. One of the guards approached me. He was professional but firm. "Ma'am, we need you to gather your belongings and come with us." "But I haven't done anything wrong," I protested, my voice cracking. "I have a valid ticket. I'm supposed to be on this flight." "We can sort this out at the gate," he said. "But right now, you need to come with us." I looked around desperately at the other passengers, hoping someone would speak up for me, but they all just stared or looked away. The humiliation was complete. I grabbed my backpack from the overhead bin with shaking hands, tears streaming down my face. As the security guards escorted me off the plane, I could hear Linda's voice behind me, addressing the other passengers. "I apologize for the disruption, folks. We'll be underway shortly now that we've resolved this situation." The walk through the airport felt endless. Other travelers stared as I was led away by security, probably assuming I was some kind of criminal. When we reached the gate area, one of the guards asked to see my ticket and ID. He checked them carefully, then frowned. "Ma'am, this ticket appears to be valid. The date, time, and seat assignment all match our records." I felt a surge of vindication mixed with rage. I told them that. I kept trying to explain, but the flight attendant wouldn't listen. The guard looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry about the confusion. Let me call the gate agent and see if we can get this sorted out." But it was too late. Through the window, I could see my plane pushing back from the gate. The next flight to Chicago wasn't until the following morning, and I'd already missed most of my grandmother's birthday celebration. I found a quiet corner of the airport and called the one person I knew would understand. My dad. "Hey, sweetheart." His warm voice came through the phone. "Aren't you supposed to be in the air right now?" I broke down completely. Through my tears, I told him everything: the humiliation, the assumptions, the way I'd been treated like a criminal just for existing. He listened quietly, and I could hear his breathing getting heavier as I spoke. "Florence," he said finally, his voice deadly calm. "What was the name of the flight attendant?" "Linda. She was the head flight attendant, I think." "And this was Thompson Airlines Flight 447? I paused, surprised. "Yes, how did you— Which gate are you at right now?" "Gate 15A. Dad? Why are you asking— Stay right where you are, don't move. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, confused. How could my dad be at the airport in 20 minutes? He lived across town, and with traffic, it would take at least an hour to get here. I sat in that uncomfortable airport chair for exactly 19 minutes, replaying the humiliation over and over in my head. Then I saw him. My father walked through the airport like he owned it. He was wearing an expensive charcoal suit that I'd never seen before, and people seemed to step aside as he passed. There was something different about him. An authority, a presence that I'd never noticed when he was just Dad at home. He spotted me immediately and walked over, his face a mask of controlled fury. "Are you okay?" he asked, pulling me into a hug. "Dad, I'm so confused. How did you get here so fast? And why are you dressed like that?" He pulled back and looked at me seriously. "Florence, there are some things about my work that I've never told you. I didn't want your childhood to be affected by it, but after what happened today, I think it's time you knew the truth." Before I could ask what he meant, he was already walking toward the gate. "Come with me." I followed him, still confused, as he approached the gate agent. "Excuse me," he said to the woman behind the counter. "I need to speak with the crew of Flight 447. The gate agent looked up and her face went pale. "Mr. Thompson? I didn't know you were here. Is there a problem?" My last name was Thompson, but the way she said it with that tone of recognition and fear made me realize that my father was not just another passenger complaining about service. "Yes, there's a problem," he said quietly. "A significant one. I need to board that aircraft immediately." "Of course, sir, right away." She grabbed a phone and made a quick call. "The crew is being notified of your arrival." My father turned to me. "Florence, I need you to wait here for a moment. I'm going to go have a conversation with the flight crew." "Dad, what's going on? How do they know you?" He squeezed my shoulder. "I'll explain everything in a few minutes. Just trust me." I watched in amazement as my father walked down the jet bridge like he owned the place, because, as I was about to find out, he did. 20 minutes later, the jet bridge door opened again. My father emerged, followed by Linda and another flight attendant. But Linda looked completely different now. Her perfect composure was gone, replaced by barely contained panic. Her face was red, and she kept wringing her hands. Behind them came a man in a pilot's uniform. He walked straight to the gate agent and spoke to her in low, urgent tones. She nodded and immediately got on the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, Thompson Airlines Flight 447 has been delayed due to a crew change. We apologize for the inconvenience and will have updated departure information shortly." My father walked back to me, and I could see the controlled anger still burning in his eyes. "Florence, I want you to know that what happened to you today was completely unacceptable. No one should ever be treated the way you were treated." "Dad, I still don't understand. How did you—" "My name is William Thompson," he said quietly. "I'm the CEO of Thompson Airlines." The words hit me like a physical blow. My father, who I'd always known as just Dad, who helped me with homework and made pancakes on Sunday mornings, owned the entire airline. "You're— what?" "I founded Thompson Airlines 15 years ago. I've been trying to keep that part of my life separate from our family life because I wanted you to have a normal childhood. I wanted you to work hard and earn things on your own merit, not because of who your father was." I stared at him in shock. "You own the airline that just kicked me off for being too poor to belong." His jaw tightened. "Yes, and heads are going to roll for this." Linda had been standing nearby, obviously listening to our conversation. She approached us slowly, her confidence completely shattered. "Mr. Thompson," she said, her voice shaking. "I had no idea. If I had known she was your daughter—" My father's eyes were like ice when he looked at her. "That's exactly the problem, Linda. You should treat every passenger with respect, regardless of who they are or who their father might be. What you did today was discrimination, pure and simple." "Sir, I was just trying to maintain the standards of the airline. Her appearance was—" "Her appearance was what? That of a hardworking college student? Someone who saved up their own money to buy a ticket on my airline." His voice was getting louder now, and other passengers were starting to notice. "You humiliated my daughter in front of an entire plane full of people because she wasn't dressed to your standards." Linda's face crumpled. "I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I thought—" "You thought what? That poor people don't deserve basic human dignity? That you have the right to judge passengers based on their clothes and belongings?" "No, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know what I mean." She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. My father's expression didn't soften. "Linda, you've been with this company for 15 years. In all that time, you've never learned that our job is to serve passengers, not to judge them. You've forgotten that respect is not something people have to earn by meeting your personal standards of appearance. Please, Mr. Thompson, I need this job. I have 2 kids at home. I'll do anything to make this right. You should have thought about that before you decided to humiliate a paying passenger in front of an entire aircraft." He turned to the gate agent. "Linda's employment with Thompson Airlines is terminated immediately. Security will escort her from the premises." The gate agent nodded and picked up her phone. Within minutes, the same security guards who had escorted me off the plane appeared to escort Linda away. The irony wasn't lost on me. As Linda was led away, she turned back one last time. "I'm sorry," she said, looking directly at me. "I'm so sorry. I wanted to feel satisfaction, but mostly I just felt sad. Sad that it had taken my father's intervention to get basic respect, and sad that someone's career had ended because they couldn't see past appearances." My father turned to me. "Florence, I want you to know that what happened today changes things. I can't keep pretending that money and position don't matter in this world, but I also don't want you to think that's all that matters." "Dad, I'm trying to process all of this. Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because I wanted you to become the person you are through your own efforts. Look at you, you're working 3 jobs, earning scholarships, building character. If you had known about the money, about the company, would you have pushed yourself so hard?" I thought about it. Probably not. Exactly. And that would have been a loss for both of us. The woman who stood up for herself on that plane today, who kept her dignity even when everyone was against her, that's the daughter I'm proud of. The gate agent approached us. "Mr. Thompson, the aircraft is ready for reboarding. We've upgraded your daughter to first class, and the crew has been briefed on the situation." My father nodded. "Thank you. And I want a full report on how this happened. We need to review our training procedures to make sure this never happens again." As we walked back toward the plane, I felt a mixture of emotions I couldn't quite sort out. Justice, vindication, but also a strange sadness that it had taken my father's power to get respect. "Dad," I said as we reached the jet bridge, "I'm glad you helped me today, but I'm also worried about something." "What's that?" "I don't want to become someone who expects special treatment because of who my father is. I want to earn respect through my own actions." He smiled for the first time since arriving at the airport. "That's exactly why I'm proud of you, and that's exactly why I kept this secret for so long." As we boarded the plane, I could feel the stares of the other passengers. But this time, they weren't stares of judgment, they were stares of curiosity and respect. The pilot personally welcomed us aboard, and the remaining flight attendants treated me with the kind of deference usually reserved for royalty. I settled into my first-class seat, still processing everything that had happened. My father sat beside me, and as the plane finally took off, he turned to me. "Florence, I want you to remember something about today. It's not about the money or the power. It's about treating people with dignity, regardless of their circumstances. Linda lost her job today, not because she didn't recognize you, but because she forgot that basic human decency." I nodded, looking out the window at the clouds below. "I understand, Dad, and I promise you, I'll never forget what it feels like to be judged unfairly. If I'm ever in a position of power, I'll remember this day." "That's all I can ask for," he said, squeezing my hand. The rest of the flight passed quietly. I spent most of it thinking about how quickly things can change, how assumptions can be shattered, and how the world looks different when you see it from both sides of power. When we landed in Chicago, my father and I walked through the airport together. He looked different to me now, not just as my dad, but as someone who had built an empire while still managing to raise me with values and work ethic. "So, what happens now?" I asked as we waited for our luggage. "Now you finish college on your own merit, just like you planned. You keep working those 3 jobs if you want to, or you can focus on your studies. That's your choice. The only thing that changes is that you know you have support if you need it." "And Thompson Airlines? Get some new training procedures and a reminder that respect is not negotiable, regardless of appearances." As we drove home to celebrate my grandmother's birthday, I reflected on the strangest day of my life. I had started the morning as Florence Thompson, struggling college student. I was ending it as Florence Thompson, daughter of a billionaire CEO. But somehow, I felt like I was still the same person. The difference was that now I understood the responsibility that comes with privilege and the importance of using power to protect those who don't have it. Linda learned that day that you never know who you're talking to. But more importantly, I learned that it shouldn't matter who you're talking to. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. That's a lesson I'll carry with me for the rest of my life, no matter how much money is in my bank account or how many airlines my family owns. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. If this story taught you something about not judging people by their appearance, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more incredible true stories. And remember, you never know who you're really talking to. What would you have done in Florence's situation? Let me know in the comments below.